because immuno-nutrition, it's a concept. It's not a tool, it's a concept. When we put together how the nutrition or components of the diet can better support an animal to cross a challenge. This challenge, it could be a bacterial challenge, it could be a virus, could be environmental with high temperatures, it could be nutritional challenge. So everything that will demand the immune system to react and start a pro-inflammatory response, and how we can support it to avoid to be prolonged and cost metabolic for the animal, because the immune system has priority for everything.
All right, welcome everybody to this episode of the Dairy Podcast Show. I'm your host for today, Gail Carpenter. I'm the State Dairy Extension Specialist with Iowa State University. I'm joined today by our guest, Dr. Melina Bonato, who is the R&D Manager at ICC Brazil. Melina, you and I were talking beforehand. Normally what I do is I kind of stalk the LinkedIn profile of our guests beforehand and kind of come ready to talk about some of their background and education and where they've been. And unfortunately, this is maybe a personal fault of mine, I don't speak any Portuguese, and your LinkedIn profile is mostly in Portuguese. So I am excited to unpack and hear a little bit about you and where you've been and how you got where you are now.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
So why don't you go ahead and start talking to us a little bit about your education? I'm going to just embarrass myself if I say the name of your university. So I will let you kind of talk about where you started out, where you went to school, your education, what you studied, and how'd that bring you to ICC Brazil?
So I am an animal scientist, and I have a master and a PhD in animal production and nutrition. By that time, it was focused in poultry nutrition. And when I finished my PhD, I started to work for ICC Brazil. That I completed 10 years this year in the company.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much. And since the beginning, I was responsible for the R&D department, and this allows me, it was a challenge in the beginning, but this allowed me to have a view from different species. And the company, ICC Brazil, focusing the solutions into gut health, animal nutrition, etc. So by the time I was able to have opportunities to study these fields of application in different species. And one of the species that I dedicate myself a lot, it was on the ruminant. So this is how I come here today to have our discussion. But this is pretty much about my background. And over the time, I have this interaction with different researchers, specialists, producers in the ruminants area. So it allows me to learn a lot. But I used to say that I'm not a specialist in ruminants, but I dedicate myself to study a lot gut health, immune system response, how to improve it, and how it will impact in animal production and everything.
Very cool.
Our Yeast 40 is a natural biotechnology from ICC, designed to boost the health and productivity of animals under challenging production systems. Our Yeast 40 performance is supported by an unique processing technology that results in a pure product containing high levels of beta-glucans, MOS, and yeast metabolites. These factors, combined, promote the ruminal and intestinal modulation, helping the animals to reach their full potential.
How did you, so I can't say the name of your university because my mouth is very used to speaking English, not Portuguese. Would you like to tell our audience where you went to school and talk a little bit about what you studied during your graduate program?
Yes, for sure. I studied at the Unesp, that is a state university here in Brazil, in São Paulo state. It's very known, this university. And I conclude my graduation and also my master and PhD there. And just a comment that during my PhD, I spent some months, 6 months in South Africa with a researcher there in University of KwaZulu-Natal. That was, by the time I worked with modeling to build models to predict amino acids requirements for poultry. This was my background.
So what brought you over to South Africa? What was over there that piqued your interest and gave you that opportunity?
Yeah. There is a researcher there. He's retired from the university, but he's still contributing a lot to this field. His name is Dr. Robert Gauss. And he, by the time he had a partnership with my advisor here in Brazil. And they have like projects together and everything, big projects to build this model to predict amino acid requirements. So I went there to work with my data with him. And I also, of course, I have opportunity to know a lot about the reality in South Africa and exchange culturally in terms of academic knowledge and everything. It was a very rich time in my life.
I think you're kind of unique here. I don't know a whole lot of people who go between poultry and ruminants. And I always tell my students, like, if you can do ruminants, you can do everything, right? Like, ruminants are the most complicated. And as a non-poultry nutritionist, it's easy for me to say poultry's easy. Like, those guys got it figured out. They have easy jobs. So is that true? Or am I doing my poultry colleagues a disservice by saying that?
No, you are completely correct, because the rumen is another universe, right? It's a unique universe. And then, but for me, when we talk about gut health and we try to understand this interaction between the rumen, but also what happened after that in the hindgut. And this told us lots of things that normally in the day by day we focus a lot in nutrition, in health of the rumen and everything. But sometimes we forget that these nutrients, great part of this nutrient will be absorbed there. And if we don't have intestinal integrity, if we don't keep controlled the challenges that will penalize the animal in terms of nutrients and energy, like to expand a lot with a pro-inflammatory response, etc. We need to put all of this together, And when you talk about monogastrics, it's more easier to understand this relationship, right? Because we don't have the rumen before it. But it's a little bit more complicated. But in the end, the response of immune system, all this part of the hindgut is not so different, So it's really interesting.
So what did you take with you as you've kind of expanded into ruminants and learning more about that rumen and how that interacts? What did you take with you? What lessons did you learn from the monogastric world that you think are really important for ruminant nutritionists to understand?
What I bring from my background in terms of nutrition for poultry is that things are not directly when we set up nutrition for poultry versus ruminants, because there is more factors that we needed to consider in order to establish these requirements, right? Also, the individual response. This weight of this individual response in terms of performance and everything is different in ruminants versus poultry, because poultry, the effect of individual in the terms of population is really small. So included, we have guidelines to have this poultry performance according to the strain that we are managing and everything. Everything we have standards to follow. And we expect it to reach these standards, And these ruminants we don't have, because each one individuals can, of course, we know an average, but there is a large variation in terms of it. So when we consider all these factors, I think they impact more. And beside that, the environment, we don't have so much the control of the environment for ruminants. That this is different when we talk about broilers, for example, that we can control better the environment and everything. So it's more challenging. So we need to have this overview about everything in this case of ruminants. Yeah.
One of the things you said when you were talking beforehand about some of the topics that you'd be interested in discussing is you mentioned immuno-nutrition applied to ruminant production. So what are some of the things, how are some of the ways that you think we can be applying some of that nutrition immune interaction? How do you think that applies to ruminant production? Do you mostly work in dairy systems, or are you working in beef systems as well?
Both, yes.
Where do you think it plays a bigger role?
Yeah. I think it's easier for us to understand this concept, because immuno-nutrition, it's a concept. It's not a tool, it's a concept. When we put together how the nutrition or components of the diet can better support an animal to cross a challenge. This challenge, it could be a bacterial challenge, it could be a virus, could be environmental with high temperatures, it could be nutritional challenge. So everything that will demand the immune system to react and start a pro-inflammatory response, and how we can support it to avoid to be prolonged and cost metabolic for the animal, because the immune system has priority for everything. So once some factor start a reaction of the immune system, the mobilization of energy and nutrients goes for the immune system instead to goes for growth, for example, for deposit protein in the muscles. This is the priority. So immune system, the brain, the heart, the liver, some organs, they have a priority in this partnership of energy and nutrients. So this idea of this concept is really put this together, because I will give you some examples from the humans. We know that there is some amino acids, but we know this in animal nutrition as well. We have some amino acids, for example, glutamic acid, that we don't have the need to supplement glutamic acid. It's not a limited amino acid, right? An essential one. However, if we supplement glutamic acid, we are passing through some challenges that cause damage in the intestinal tract, that can cause, for example, in cows, and there is an area challenge that will cause damage in the gut epithelium, really will cause lesions that will lead to diarrhea incidents, etc. These lesions in the gut, glutamic acid can help, can be utilized by the cells as a source of energy for proliferation, for renew. So in the end, this animal is saving a little bit energy and nutrients to make it more efficient in terms of multiplication. So this is just an example, because we know there is several amino acids, there is several vitamins that can be related to it. So let's continue in this example of the cows. In this cause of area causing damage in the gut. With the time, what will gonna happen? We're gonna start to have oxidative response in the cells because of the damage. This is a chronic problem. If it's not solved, it will continue. Diarrhea is just the final one, or it could be even the death of the animal if we don't control it, right? But we know there is some vitamins and some minerals that will play a role in help oxidative stress, right? So, for example, selenium, zinc, and other, vitamin E, and others. So we know this. that this happens. So this concept is just to put together this. If we know that this specific farm, the animals, they always have diarrhea, and we could identify what it is, the agent that is causing this the diarrhea. Of course, we're going to have several management tasks to do. We know that. But we can also use the nutrition, look into it. What kind of nutrients or components in the diet that we can use to support this animal to face it? We're not going to solve the problem, but for sure, we will avoid this animal to lose a lot in terms of weight and to have a prolonged diarrhea incidence and all of this that costs a lot for the animal, you know? This is the idea. So when you look at this concept, Gail, comes from the human nutrition. And by the time I saw some researchers talking about a lot of it starting in poultry, in swine, and now makes sense that we need to start to discuss it in ruminants as well, because it can be applied in the same way.
Very cool. Do you see differences between how dairy cattle and beef cattle respond to some of this immune activation? And what does that mean for ruminant production?
We have been conducted several trials, and we started with beef cattle in this investigation because our knowledge, it's a lot, not so much in terms of nutrition itself, but in this component that I told you that we can utilize in the diet as a tool to help in this situation of a gut challenge, immune challenge, and everything. And one of these components that we can discuss is the beta-glucans. Beta-glucans, it's a molecule that's very known in terms of immune modulation. What this means? It means to put the immune system in alert mode, in a way that when a real challenge arrives, the immune system can react faster, stronger, and will decrease the time of the response, because the time of the response, that it costs a lot metabolically, right? So when we have these components in the diet, I was about to mention this trial in beef cattle. This trial, it's already published. It was conducted at a university here in Brazil. It's called Immuno-Nutrition. It was in beef cattle during the feedlot. And what happened when you have these animals? Of course, it would depend on the system, but with animals in a certain farm, and after that, they will be transferred to the feedlot, for example. And this change for the feedlot, this transportation, changes in the diet, changes in the environment, it's a stress. What we accept that is normal. It's normal to have mortality. It's normal to have morbidity. It's normal to have lots of costs in terms of veterinary treatments with these animals. And we have to adapt in these animals in terms of diet, right? For the feedlot. So you see, we are talking about nutritional challenges, but we are also talking about environmental, social challenges, stress, points of stress for these animals. The immune system needs to react, needs to be in alert mode. And what we observed in this trial with the beef in the feedlot, it was that we took blood sample over the 105 days that they stayed in the feedlot. And the first 14 days, it was the most challenging one, because due to this stress of adaptation. And then when we have this beta-glucan supplementation, when we took the blood samples, we can clearly see that we have more, for example, more lymphocytes circulating the blood. And in the end, when you look to the response, in terms of performance, they gain more weight in this period versus the animals that they don't receive the supplementation, right? And over the feedlot period, It was a period of summer in Brazil, when it started the summer, when we have lots of rains. So in the day we have high temperatures. When we have the rain in the end of the afternoon, there is an inverse in the temperature, so the temperature drops very fast. So we can see lots of respiratory discharges and nasal discharge, respiratory incidents problems with these animals. And one of the response was also to decrease this respiratory incidence and the severity of these respiratory incidences problems in the feedlot. So when we look to the beef, we go more to this way. Of course, we're going to look into performance. If we don't have a good monitoring, sometimes it's difficult even to identify what is happening, to think what we can do. But if you have a good monitoring, we can think and use these tools, especially when there is this stress situation, that will help the animal to overcome it without penalize too much the performance. This is the idea when we talk about beef cattle. And reduce the costs of veterinary costs. We have a trial that we conducted in Texas A&M University, that the idea was precisely this. The farm get the wafers, the calves, after the weaning, and they travel from different states to Texas, and then this period of adaptation, they say to us, we have high mortality, morbidity, extra costs with veterinary and everything. And in this trial, when we have the supplementation in this period of adaptation that was 28 days, something like this, we observe less veterinary costs, less mortality. So in the end, the farmer will expend less without losing animals, veterinary costs and everything. In the end, this is the idea of this concept of nutrition, to have a tool that will help the animals to overcome the challenge, not avoid, not to solve 100%, but and also impacting performance, growth, and everything.
So that kind of ties into one of the other topics that you indicated you're interested in, which is this interaction between immunomodulation and acidosis. Can you talk a little bit about what the mode of action might be there?
Yeah, this is pretty much related, Gail, with the solutions that we work with. What is the idea? The studies, all of this, they were performed with yeast-based feed additives. So when we think about yeast, we think about, we can look into nutritionally into yeast, we can look into functionality of the yeast. And one of the components directly linked with functionality is the beta-glucans that I just mentioned for you. One of components related to functionality is the monoligosaccharides that will also play a role in the hindgut, like by agglutinating bacteria like E. coli, like Salmonella, bacteria that possess Fimbria, they can be agglutinated by monoligosaccharides. So this will be important thinking in high challenges with this bacterial presence. We can think in this by decreasing contamination in terms of meat, in terms of milk, and everything else, right? But when we look into the rumen, we cannot forget that the rumen itself, when there is, for example, an acidosis problem, this can be transformed into a metabolic problem and can be transformed into a pro-inflammatory problem, activating the immune system. So I'll give an example. When we look into, we have a study conducted at University of Florida, and in this trial we have 2 levels of diets with starch levels. One high starch level, one normal starch level. Let's talk about it. And what we look at, when we look into this response, we know that over the time, this can cause acidosis because this drop in pH every time, few hours after the animal will eat this feed. And what happened is that with the time, one of the markers that we can look at is a protein, acute phase protein that's called aptoglobin. Aptoglobin is produced by the liver in cases of these pro-inflammatory responses. And you see, in this case, it started in the rumen because of an acidosis problem. So when we think about it, it's important to understand that this was a nutritional problem that caused all of it, but in the end, this also caused immune system to react, to cause a reaction to the immune system. So again, this will take energy and nutrients with this pro-inflammatory response that every single day is happening for a long period. It's a chronic problem, right? It's costing a little bit in terms of metabolic nutrients for the animal. So when we talk about it, control acidosis, it's one of the points that will help a lot in terms of this cost and to stimulate the immune system, and to make the immune system to react. And beside of it, when we look into these components of the yeast that we call this metabolites of the yeast, which means the content of the cytoplasm. So, which is very rich in amino acids, vitamin B complex, etc. It's more essential protein than energy, right? And all these components, what we are seeing that they can support the rumen microbiota in a positive way. That after this challenge with the drop the pH, it's not that this component that will support the microbiota will avoid the drop of the pH, but this pH come back earlier. One of our hypotheses is that with this to feed this population, the idea is to help the population that will utilizate and will remove the lactase from the rumen, and then allows to this pH to come back earlier to the normal, and then have the room for the bacteria that will degrade fiber to work. So it's very, we have not just our trial, but in the literature, it's very common to see that the yeast-based feed additives, they support this microbiota that will degrade fiber. And one of the results is to increase the MDF digestibility. And this is one of the points. So our idea when we talk about this relationship, besides talk about it, it's what is the result of it. Of course, this will impact in milk production, or if you were talking about beef, in body weight gain, etc. But it's avoided that this drop in pH stay too longer above 5.8 by 5.6, that will avoid the bacteria that will degrade the fiber to work and have the product that is result of this fermentation, right? So that it is what relax fatty acids and etc. So when we put these two ideas together, this is the main idea, Gail, is really to understand that in the end, this can cause also a pro-inflammatory inflammation, and this will also cost for the immune system.
So we talk about beef cattle mostly when we talk about acidosis, but you deal with both ruminants, right? And so dairy cattle might not experience acidosis, like clinical acidosis, the same way beef cattle do, but certainly subacute ruminal acidosis, or SARA, can be an issue with dairy cattle. Do these same concepts apply when we're talking about dairy cattle?
Absolutely. This trial from University of Florida to us with the dairy cows, and what we found in the end is that even with this the level of starch in the diet, it was 23% versus 28% of starch. And it's not so high when we compare, as you said, with beef diets that sometimes we have an even higher concentration of starch causing acute problems of acidosis, right? But and in this case of this dairy cow scale, we took blood samples as well, and we observed we did not look into the immune system specifically because it was not the objective of the trial, but we look into the rumen parameters. And also we look into aptoglobin, as I told you. That is a very interesting marker of the immune responses. And it was clearly increased the level of aptoglobin in the blood of the dairy cows that they received this higher level of starch. Even that when we look into the pH in the rumen, even that we don't have a drop less than 5.6, 5.4. It was not a drastic decrease, but it's exactly the situation that you are mentioning. And clearly there is less aptoglobin presence when we're thinking in this way to modulate the rumen microbiota, to have this approach to avoid these high drops and for a longer period.
Well, we've been chatting for a while now, about half an hour. So I really appreciate the insights that you've been sharing regarding this nutrition, immune system, health interaction. I think there's still a lot we have to learn in this area. But it was really great and interesting to hear your insights as well as some of your research experiences with that.
Typical fresh cow incidence of clinical hypocalcemia is 3 to 6%. While subclinical hypocalcemia affects 50% or more mature cows. Based on cutting-edge research, Exelite offers a new approach that is build effective and the ZDUs. For more information, visit www.protecta.com. It's time for our famous 3. When it comes to raising healthy animals, you need more than the right solutions. You need the right partner who brings decades of industry expertise and a global team to put that knowledge to work for the advancement of your operation. At Phibro Animal Health Corporation, we are proud to work with you as your trusted partner.
I want to end today. We ask all of our guests 3 questions, so I want to end with our 3 questions that we ask every guest. Our first one, I think, as you know, is what is your favorite dairy-related book or resource? And again, I know you do all species, so it doesn't necessarily have to be dairy. I'm not going to make you pick a favorite, so we'll keep it agricultural or animal nutrition. What's your favorite book or resource related to your area of study?
Yeah, nowadays, girls, I'm very interested in learning more about the immune system. And this is something because I'm an animal scientist, I'm not veterinary. So my background in terms of immune, or to understand the immune system, the response, development, and everything was really poor in my background. So I'm really interested to understand more of this because I really think that we need to look into nutrition and also to understand how there is this interaction and the utilization of nutrients for the metabolism to support the immune system. So I think if we can really have this interaction between veterinaries and nutritionists, I think all of us will gain a lot in animal production,
Do you have a resource on the immune system that you can recommend? Is there a place you go to get information when you're learning more about immune system function?
There is some specific conferences to talk about immune system, and I even try to follow someone in humans because sometimes they bring population studies that they are more robust sometimes to understand. So I try to follow these things. I can sometimes participate in person, but I try to follow this both for human and for specifically for animals production responses, in terms. But it's also always related to it that I try to learn a little bit more.
So what is your favorite book or resource that's not related to animal nutrition?
I like a lot to read about history. Not just from Brazil, but the world, ancient history. I'm nowadays back to read some book about the old civilization of Egypt. Sometimes I come back in these topics. I like very much.
Very cool. Have you ever traveled to Egypt?
Not yet, but this is a must do for me.
Bucket list item.
Yeah.
All right. So our last question that we ask every guest is, what is one thing that you think sets successful dairy professionals apart from those who are not successful?
I think one of the things that is to be honest and to be, in a way that you always will learn, continues to learn. I think even that you go to a farm and you learn with the employee that is there every single day with the animals, and you also can learn with a super researcher that knows a lot about one specific thing. I think we need to continue to learn. That's the point. To be humble, to assume that we don't know everything, and we have a room to continue to learn.
That's great advice. Melina, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. Is there a place that people can go to find out more about what you're working on? Anywhere that they can connect with your research and see what you guys are learning?
We try to put lots of these topics in LinkedIn. I will put my LinkedIn in English because for sure now I think it's better to have access for everybody from everywhere.
Well, I don't want to take anything away from Portuguese speakers either. So
no, but it definitely will reach more persons in terms of disclose information, right? There we usually, I person and the company as well, when we have a new study published, we try to share with everybody, explain a little bit what was about these, the main goals and main findings, and try to transform the scientific language in a more technical language so everybody can have access to it. So I think LinkedIn is the best tool to do it.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today. It was great to hear more about what you're working on and get some insights from you on your field of study. So welcome to the field of ruminant nutrition. I think we're more fun than poultry, personally. But again, I am biased.
Thank you very much.